We got number 17th ranked, the Matrix, KYLER Phillips, man, who was coming off of a rough loss in his last fight to Raulian Paiva, which was a majority decision loss, kind of controversial. Either way, he's fighting 124 ranked Marcelo Rojo. So some could be asking, why is this bout taking place? And I'll tell you why. Both of these dudes got hands, brother. However, Rojo did get broken in his last fight, AJ. You saw it happen in real time, but he was fighting one of the best strikers to do it in the featherweight division, which is Charles Jourdain. And let me just take a look right now, if you do not mind, AJ, because now that I'm thinking about it, for Marcelo Rojo, if his last fight was against Charles Jourdain, who's a featherweight, this fight's taking place at bantamweight. So did he go down a weight class? Let's take a look. Yes, he actually has gone down a weight class from featherweight to bantamweight. And let me see, in his combate fights, okay, but in his combate fights, he was basically fighting at bantamweight. So now this makes a lot more sense. So in his UFC debut, he stepped up a weight class to fight Charles Jourdain. Now he's jumping down to bantamweight. I probably should have known this before I made my picks over here, but either way, I don't think it's going to change too much, to be honest with you. I really like Marcelo Rojo as a fighter. I think he's a banger, but I do think that he's going to be a step slower in this fight. KYLER Phillips has definitely got the speed advantage when it comes down to it, man. He's a very technical striker, high strike rate. And would you agree with me when I say that KYLER Phillips is an avalanche fighter, a downhill fighter? And what I mean by that is once he gets going, he's hard to stop. But if you can disrupt that flow, if you could disrupt all of those strikes coming up on you, counting up, building up and all that, then Rojo can have some success, man. He's got a good ground game, big bombs, and he's not afraid to turn a classic bout into a dogfight, brother. So what do you think about that?
Man, this one I marked once I saw this. It's hard to not be a step behind KYLER Phillips because this dude is fast, he's smooth, he'll hit you with some stuff. But you talked about Marcelo Rojo getting broken in his last fight. Man, I gotta say the same thing for KYLER Phillips. There's nothing more devastating. We've talked about it a lot of the times where you're over there swinging, you got your guy dropped, you're hitting him hard, he's dropping to the ground, but you can't get the finish, and then through the fight, he starts coming back, hitting you with some stuff. Now he's a step ahead, and that's exactly what we saw in the Raulian Paiva fight. KYLER Phillips had him basically dead to rights. And if that round was 10 seconds longer, it would have been a finish. That's not the case, though, man. The buzzer go. I believe it's Keith Peterson. They gave him the clock, man. That's one of my favorite sayings since seeing that fight. They gave him the clock. You got 10 seconds. Might as well let him finish it out. But man, KYLER Phillips, once that happened, then he started losing that step. That gas tank started diminishing. We started seeing the holes in the game that were able to be exploited. And when you're sitting there and you're punching a guy that in round one, you were dropping him. Now he's sitting there eating it, smiling at you, coming back. That's a very devastating mindset to ever happen to you. And I feel like both of these fighters kind of have that in common, where they had a rough one in their last one, so they need to be coming back for this one. I agree with you, Derek. KYLER Phillips is very much a downhill fighter, but if there's somebody who's going to be interrupting that flow, it's Marcelo Rojo. This dude is an absolute dog in the cage, and he might be maybe not as diverse, maybe not as skilled, but this dude is very comfortable in the pocket, has very sneaky knees, and a finisher, Derek. More classic a striker, very sharp, but a finisher is why I like Marcelo in this fight. I'm still leaning one way. I'll let the cat out of the bag. I'm leaning towards Phillips on this, man. It's hard to not like this dude just because of how flashy he is striking, but Marcelo Rojo is easily a dog in this fight, a live dog. You can get some money off of Rojo because he has the power to get things done, man. What you think?
Yeah. Well, you know who Marcelo Rojo reminds me of? Well, this matchup in total, he reminds me of being the Steven Peterson in the Julian Erosa versus Steven Peterson matchup, where I said it in the fight. I was like, I like Erosa, but if there's anybody who can get this job done, it's Steven Peterson. And I think the same thing about Marcelo Rojo. I think that's why he's on the main card, even though he dropped his UFC debut. Very exciting fighter. And like I said, when you disrupt the flow of a KYLER Phillips and you can turn it into a dogfight, things can get messy, create sprawls, get both of these dudes tired, and then figure out, okay, we're both tired. Who's going to gut this one out? You know what I mean? Who's going to get the job done? Both of them were broken in different respective ways in their last fights, but it should be fun either way. I did want to just make a note of this, man. I always talk about it for KYLER Phillips. He is a Nikita Kai fighter, and what that means is it's like 5 or 6 or 8 or 9 different martial arts all blended into one. That's what he came up under. I think his sensei or professor, or whatever you want to call it, is one of the dudes who created Nikita Kai. But he has a very diverse skill set, man. Marcelo Rojo does as well, but KYLER Phillips can get the job done on the floor, get it done on the feet. Crazy array of strikes. For Marcelo Rojo, man, even though he can mix it up very well, he does his best work when his opponent's back is up against the cage. That's when his best work is done, where he could press you up there, you have nowhere to go, and he can land the big bombs on you. I just think KYLER Phillips is going to be a little bit more movement base, is not going to be a stationary target, not going to allow himself to just get stuck up there. And if anything, he's going to be mixing up these strikes where he mixes up his punches and his kicks seamlessly in these combinations, right? For Marcelo Rojo, the reason why I was just a little bit concerned is because Charles Jourdain said when he fought him during like midway through the fight, he was like, oh, I could tell I'm about to finish this dude. Like I saw it, you could feel it in the eyes. You could see like, okay, this dude's breaking little by little. For KYLER Phillips, it was just a different type of broken. It's like, dude, I smashed you. Why are you still here? It was that type of broken. So if he can overcome that, working at the MMA Lab, a very prestigious gym out there in Phoenix, Arizona, I believe, or Scottsdale, or somewhere in Arizona, right? If he can overcome that, I think that he's on track to, get a very nice downhill victory over here against Marcelo Rojo. But the question is, AJ, do you agree with the odds? Because like you're saying, there's kind of live dog here for Rojo, minus 400 for Phillips. They're not really showing Rojo any respect here. This is a dude who's got a decorated career, man. A lot of fights in Combate, 16-7 overall, 8 knockouts, 6 submissions. I mean, do you think they're like the odds are very like basically? Do you agree with the odds? Yes or no?
Man, they're throwing some shade to my boy Rojo. I agree with the odds in the sense that I think KYLER Phillips is definitely the favorite going into this fight, but minus 400 to a plus 310 comeback. That's a little skewed, man. I mean, I was thinking a little bit more like 200 to 150 around there, but I mean, yeah. Well, I guess agree, but not that dramatically.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I mean, I could kind of look at it like I'll give a little foreshadowing to the main event for Adesanya Whitaker. It's minus 280 for Adesanya, plus 230 for Whitaker. I mean, I could see those odds for this fight, but minus 400. If you look at it, I'm actually looking at it right now. That means that KYLER Phillips is the biggest favorite on the card, and literally Rojo is the biggest underdog on the card. So we'll see what happens here. I think that Rojo can make it close. I'm still leaning Phillips, though. What it comes down to is I'm leaning Phillips, and I think Phillips can actually get a finish here, man. I think that he can get a late round finish. We saw Rojo get broken in the first fight. The man's only been knocked out once, and that was that Jourdain fight. He's been submitted 4 times, and he's lost 2 decisions. But KYLER Phillips, man, I mean, like I said, when he puts it on you, man, he puts it on you. So maybe he'll take a little bit of a reserved approach. That's really what it comes down to. If he wants to be more patient, doesn't want to wear out that gas tank, could have a little PTSD from the last fight, we might see a decision, but I think he can get a finish. But to play it safe, I'll probably rock with a decision. With the over for KYLER Phillips on 2.5 rounds, and the over cashes in at plus 130, brother. The odds makers think that this fight's going to end early, man. So what do you think? Who do you got, and what do you think?
Man, I'm with the odds makers on this one, man. I think this one's gonna end early, and like I said, I'm rocking with KYLER Phillips. I'm going KO round 2. I think he can get it done, especially if he plays it a little smarter than he did. Doesn't have that adrenaline dump. Doesn't try to empty the gas tank to get the finish. Plays it smart. Lands one of those like banger of a heel kicks. Throws something crazy that we don't see coming. Actually gets Marcelo Rojo unexpected. I think that's where his biggest advantage is gonna lie. It's just I like the flashy style, man. I won't lie. I like the flashy style of KYLER Phillips. Even though Rojo is, like I said, a live dog in this fight, I'm rocking with KYLER Phillips KO round 2, man.
Okay. Right on, brother. I mean, that's a bold pick right there. I think Rojo's a little bit more of a dog that's, not going to necessarily allow himself to be put in a spot where he's just going to get starched like that. But we'll see what happens, man. We'll definitely see what happens.